welcome to Broken Entertainment. So, today we have another reboot, remake, reshoot, requel, sequel, whatever you want to call it. And it is Babylon 5. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, really? They're rebooting Babylon 5? Why? Because it's a complete story. We have the beginning, we have the middle, we have the end. Has a lot of fans, people who absolutely loved watching it, and who probably own the seasons on Blu-ray, DVD, etc., etc. So why make it again? And my second thought was, oh, oh, good lord, it's going to be on the CW. This is by the original creator. If you want to look for some good news in that. But the CW, to me, and the fact that it's a reboot, those are really scary. It's a very scary combination. Well, let's go ahead and get into the article. The original creator has a lot to say about this, and I think it's fair to see what he says and go from there. So, Michael Straczynski has confirmed that a reboot of his beloved sci-fi series Babylon 5 is currently in the works at the CW. News of the Babylon 5 reboot's existence was first reported on by Variety, who reported on the morning of September 27th they had learned that a from-the-ground-up reboot of the series was in the works from Straczynski and Warner Brothers Television, the studio that produced the original series. Though the details on the reboot were scarce, the trade outlet could confirm that, at this time, none of the original series stars are attached to the project. Unsurprisingly, this news caused a massive buzz across social media, with some fans excited for more Babylon 5 and others afraid the new series would suffer from the same problems that have plagued basically everything. So much so, in fact, that said buzz eventually prompted him to take Twitter and confirm and answer all the questions. Yes, it's true, Babylon 5 is in active development as a series for the CW. Yippee. We have some serious fans over at the network, I'm sure you do, and they're eager to see how this show happen. I'm hip deep into writing the pilot now, and we'll be running this series upon pickup. So there's the good news. The creator of the show, nobody knows the show better than the guy that made it, is going to be doing it again. Why, I don't know, but he is. Then explain the network understands the uniqueness of Babylon 5 and is giving me a great deal of latitude with the storytelling. So that's kind of good news too. You don't have the CW meddling and stuff, at least theoretically, as much as they might otherwise. The CW has kind of got out of the way of Superman and Lois, and that's doing very well as well. So you never know, right? There's a possibility this won't be a disaster, but there's also some issues here. As noted in the announcement, this is a reboot from the ground up rather than a continuation for several reasons. Heraclitus wrote, "You cannot step in the same river twice, for the river has changed, and you have changed." The creator continued, "In the years since B5, I've done a ton of other TV shows and movies, adding an equal number of tools to my toolbox, all of which I can bring to bear on one singular question. If I were creating Babylon 5 today, for the first time knowing what I know now as a writer, what would it look like?" Now, as a writer, you go back to old material after you've got a bunch of experience and so on. You're going to have new tools, new ideas, new thoughts to approach something. I understand that. But this is like George Lucas going back and retouching the Star Wars movies, right? After a while, you already had the product. It's already popular. Everybody loves it. Why are you doing it again? A spin-off or a sequel would have been different, but this is a total reboot, reconstruction. Everything you know, throw it away. How would it use all the storytelling tools and technological resources available in 2021 that were not on hand then? How can it be used to reflect the world in which we live? And there we go. This is coding. This is phrasing that you see over and over again on this stuff when it gets announced. And then it turns out that it's super agenda driven and not very good, because they use this coded language initially, how can it be used to reflect the world in which we live? And the questions we are asking and confronting every day. Fans regularly point out how prescient the show was and is of our current world. It'd be fun to take a shot at looking further down the road. That's scary. Now, independently, none of these things are inherently scary, right? Because the CW, okay, but it's got the original director. Well, then you've got the original creator saying modern world stuff. Now you got the two combined, and you've got a question also, what does he mean by modern world stuff? You know, if you ask most creators, there's a very specific thing they mean by that. Very specific agenda items that they want to beat you over the head with rather than tell you an entertaining story. I wouldn't say to run with this and run away and go, oh my god, it's a complete disaster, everything's going to be terrible and woke and blah, 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 blah. We don't know, but this is the kind of wording that should be sending up red flags. Turning to the concept of the new series as a reboot, Straczynski stated, so we will not be retelling the same story in the same way. There would be no fun and no surprises. Better to go the way of Westworld or Battlestar Galactica, where you take the original elements that are evergreens, put them in a blender with a ton of new challenging ideas, create something fresh yet familiar. So you're making Babylon 6. Because Babylon 5 is a specific thing. And if you remove everything from that, except a couple of things, and you throw it in quote-unquote a blender, you're not making Babylon 5. Okay? One of the reasons Battlestar Galactica worked, since you used that as an example, Battlestar Galactica worked because it was not a replacement of Battlestar Galactica. It was an alternate universe of Battlestar Galactica. It came out and said as much. And then the writing was so good, it just didn't matter. But it's nothing like the original Battlestar Galactica, right? I mean, for the most part. Great show. Westworld, I don't know anything about and don't really care, but you can't, I forget the fable, but there's a guy who has a ship, and over time he replaced Theseus. That's it. The ship of Theseus. Over time, Theseus replaces more and more parts of the ship until eventually he has replaced everything on the ship. And the question is it the same ship? Well, if you're going to take out everything of Babylon 5 that made it Babylon 5, and you're going to hold the things that you think are core, but then you're going to just chop them up in a blender with whatever else you throw in there, is that really Babylon 5? Or is that something else? Babylon 6? Babylon 5.5? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's the space station of Theseus, I guess. Addressing those asking, why not just do a continuation? For a network series like this, can't be done because over half our cast are still stubbornly on the other side of the rim. I'm sure that's referring to something, I don't know what it is. How do you telling continuing story of our original Londo without the original? Wow, that is a fun typo. Yeah. Anyway, how do you tell the original story without the original actors? You don't, because it's done and people like it. And you could have done a remaster. Actually, I think they did a remaster. Yeah, they did. You don't need to remake this show. My advice to this guy, just as somebody who is a writer as well and seeking to be published, nowhere near as experienced as this guy, obviously, but let me throw this out there. Every time I have gone back to try to rewrite something old that I wrote before I was as good at writing as I am now, it doesn't work. Because much like the ship of Theseus, or much like the reference that he's making, you're not the same person. You're not telling the same story. You physically can't tell the same story in the same way. It just doesn't work. Make something new. Babylon 5 is great, but it's had its day, right? Make something in the same universe. That would be fine. The original Babylon 5 was ridiculously innovative, the first to use CGI to create ships and characters, and among the very first to shoot widescreen with vigorous 5.1 remix. Most of all, for the first time, Babylon 5 introduced viewers accustomed to episodic television to the concept of a 5-year arc with pre-planned beginning, middle, and end. Blah, blah, blah. Tradition for innovation will continue in this new iteration, and I hope to create additional new forms of storytelling that will further push television medium to the edge of what's possible. Yeah, on the CW. Concluding his thread, Straczynski took a moment to note how supportive and enthusiastic everyone at CW has been and is being with this project. They understand the unique position Babylon 5 occupies, both in television and with its legion of fans, and are doing everything they can to ensure the maximum and creative freedom. New story that will bring in new viewers. Pause. There's your other worrisome coded statement. A new story that will bring in new viewers. Where have we seen that applied? Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, where they say, oh, no, we want to bring in new people. It's the first thing they say. We want to bring in new people. Well, new people's great. But a lot of times when they say that, what they seem to be saying is, and we don't want the old people. Now, I don't know if he's saying that, but this has happened over and over again, including on the CW. We want to bring in new people. We don't want those old people that watch it. Come on. We want new people. Now, they should want new people. Should want to expand the story, absolutely. But in a world where Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, the Star Wars sequel trilogy, Terminator Dark Fate, The Predator, I'm sure I'm missing a few. In a world where those things haven't happened, one after the other, Ghostbusters 2016, after the other, in that world, this isn't worrisome. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where every time you see these words, you have to worry. What are they going to do to the show? We live in a world where the CW has a version of Batwoman that is so focused on political ideology and hammering you over the head with the concept of racism and white man bad, that they don't mind that they have fewer viewers than the city of St. Louis has people. So that's what makes me pause and say, wow, this could be a horrible, terrible disaster. That being said, it's the original creator. Who knows it better than the original creator? Nobody. Supposedly being given a lot of freedom to do the storytelling. Hopefully this is just writer speak for, I'm going to try to update things because I've got new ideas. And not, well, let's wonder if maybe Sheridan should be a woman. You got to worry because of the world we live in. Because of where entertainment has gone. And I would be cautious right now if I were a huge Babylon 5 fan. I like Babylon 5, but I'm not the world's biggest fan. I don't have a bunch of Babylon 5 stuff around my house or whatever, but this is unnecessary. It's on a network infamous for its agenda and bad storytelling. It has oft used code phrasing in the description, but it is by the original creator. I think it would be unwise to run to the hills screaming, "Get woke, go broke," and I think it would be unwise to run to the opposite of the hills, the plains, I guess, waving your arms around, yelling, "The next coming of the greatest show in history of television is going to be greater than the greatest greatness ever." Because you just this early in the process and with so little information, but also with these things colluding together, it could go either way. It really could. So we'll see. I'll keep an eye for updates on this. Kind of curious where it goes. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.